So anyway, all right. So we've talked about the fact that there are layers of thinking going on, we all recognize, because we hear these layers. Sometimes you stop and you realize, wait a second, I got 2 or 3 different things I'm thinking about, and it's that subtle. And that stuff in the back is just what's running and helping to promote and produce these programs. And sickness is another major one as well. Oh, it's like all of it, because it's all become the human experience, the experiencing of potentials, everything. It's all potentials. And that's what we've selected without realizing it. And that's why with sickness, it's generally attached to, certain emotions, certain experiences that people have had, which obviously it's the emotions from the experiences, the trauma, pain, all of that, how that all translates. And so from those experiences, the body reacts. And so here it is. We run the program then of a sickness, of a dis-ease, based on all of that people don't even recognize is running. We see it with food. We see it with all of those things. And now with, obviously with the food movement, which I've talked about, with, raw food, juicing movement, vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian, and just people just eating in general. Food is such an emotional experience. There's so much of a story attached to food. And that's why we enjoy gathering together and sharing and eating. And because of it's, generally a joyful experience, but it impacts the body based on all, our survival program or stories, and our organs are obviously operating based on all of that information. A lot of times people want step 1, step 2, step 3. And I think it works. There are times when it works. But my experience, having had to understand or get myself to this place from no understanding, from, zero, basically, I realized that what propels me more than anything else is to understand more about the mechanism of this thing we call life. Foundation. If I don't have a foundation from which to build, all I'm going to have is steps. I'm going to have steps, but those steps are not going to be rooted in my knowing. It's not going to be rooted there. And so it still falls apart. It still becomes temporary. It sounds good and it works for a minute, but when we understand, how the clock works, and you take it apart and you go, oh, okay, so this does this connects with that, and that's why it ticks and it moves and whatever, all of that. That's the reason why I push the information more than anything else, because my desire is for people to understand this, like all the way from the inside, because you have this information from within you, for you to get to understand, for that knowing to happen, so that you can be strong as you move yourself through your evolution, so that you can feel strength when you do that, as opposed to just externalizing. Because in the end, it has to come from you. That knowing is what's going to regulate, how you how you work with these electrons, you know, these molecules, these atoms. It's all coming from that space, from you, and you're waking yourself up, or you're unlocking yourself, and that's what you have to do to unlock yourself. So it's not about just memorized information, which is what a lot of people have, and so they get really clingy to a particular belief system, or a particular you know, group concept per se, you know, which is why religion works. But it has to come from, you know, from us. That's what's going to make ourselves really get the message, and are triggered, and, you know, unlock and evolve beyond all of this. And so the survival program, again, it's not a good or bad thing. And I still hear people say that, man, I got to get away from this reality. I want to get out of this reality. I dislike it. I don't like it. All of that. And it's just not about that. See, when we understand this, when we get what we're dealing with, there is no like or dislike. It really isn't. That just goes away, because that becomes minuscule. That becomes trivial. That becomes naive isn't the word, but it's almost prehistoric. It's just about you evolving beyond it. That's the biggest thing. And now you're looking, and you're understanding how the stories, how the whole thing is supported by the stories, the belief systems which get run into the stories. The stories are designed based on the belief systems, the perceptions. The stories, they're bouncing off of each other. You start realizing that. And so you realize just how much I can make things change in my life if I can recognize the stories and shut off the story.